If you feel like you're doing everything and you still feel off, or maybe you're exhausted and you can't actually rest, you're wired, but overall you feel just flat, and you're hungry and yet afraid to eat, or maybe you don't even feel hungry anymore. You've probably noticed that by now we can call it some stress. Or maybe you've even been told that you're a problem or that you need to fix this. This episode is for you. Today, we're going to talk about cortisol, what it actually is, how it feels when it's high or when it's low or when it's all over the place, and how the constant push and pull of diet culture, perfectionism, and never feeling enough. It wires our body into survival mode. This isn't about managing stress with supplements. It's really about understanding what your body's been trying to tell you so you can finally find that safeness in your body and feel energized and ultimately feel like you again. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to the episode. I am back to solo episodes. It was great having some guests on the podcast this summer, but I'm excited to be back running the show on my own again. A little update is that we're in the thick of summer. It is mid-July when I am recording this, and it shouldn't be long after that you're actually listening to it. We're in the thick of summer. And I'm at the point in summer where I'm regretting my life choices of not enrolling my child in a daycare or not finding an office space outside of my home. But here we are. It's too late to change our mind, I've decided, and we're just going to have to roll with it. We've got another about 5 weeks of being at home. And I've done it before, so we'll do it again. And soon the children will be back in school and I will have my house and my office back to myself. And if you hear the lawnmower in the background, that is my child lawn mowing outside of my office door. And that's honestly as quiet as it's been today, a lawnmower outside my office. So here we are. But today we're going to, speaking of being a mom in the summertime, we're going to talk about cortisol today. I want to tell you what cortisol really feels like in your body and the lack of it, how it feels in your body, why there is such a cortisol issue, and how this relates to your sex hormones. So your testosterone, your estrogen, and your progesterone. Many times when I'm talking about hormonal balance, I'm actually speaking more on cortisol and the other hormone, which is very important for balance, which is insulin. And that will be a direct correlation of the food that you're eating. Today, we're going to stick with cortisol, but both of these hormones are really the foundation before our sex hormones start to shift. So many times we like to think that my hormones are imbalanced and I feel this way because maybe my estrogen is high or it's low, or my testosterone is high or it's low. And we think we're just going to micromanage those hormones. But in reality, we want to focus more of our energy and our time and awareness on our cortisol and our insulin, because they are really the precursors to what our sex hormones end up doing. We think many times that either I'm going to micromanage these hormones or it's just completely out of my control. And that's not the truth at all. The truth is that you are so much in control over your hormonal balance. Now, it's not a quick fix to get hormones to be balanced in a natural, sustainable way through your eating, through your stress management. It doesn't happen overnight, but it is something that has a cumulative effect. And there's no better time to start than today to start to be aware and start to make some of these changes. So cortisol, and also whenever I'm scrolling online and I'm seeing information about cortisol, it's always that your cortisol is high and that cortisol is bad. And those are both lies. That is not true. Your cortisol could be high. That is definitely a possibility. But oftentimes I see far more dysregulation. And so that means that cortisol is high at the wrong time of day and low at the wrong time of day, or it's sporadic. I also see cortisol be very low for women, probably more often than I see it be high. And also that cortisol is bad. cortisol isn't bad at all. We want cortisol. Cortisol is your get up and go hormone. It's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. It's the thing that gets your appetite going in the morning. It's the thing that gets you focused and paying attention and aware and recovering from workouts. But it's when you're pushing on your body often and hard, and you ignore the cues that your body is telling you, that your body will start to overproduce cortisol. Cortisol also is super helpful on keeping us safe, because it's cortisol that gets us to move out of danger when we are in the face of, being in some sort of emergent situation, or back in our ancestors' day when we had to actually rely on cortisol to move our bodies out of danger. That doesn't happen very often now, but guess what? We still have our ancestors' bodies. And so whenever our body perceives danger, we get a push of cortisol, and that cortisol helps us move our body out of danger. It also helps us fight out of danger. And it also, the other way that it goes is it also will cause us to freeze and to do nothing. We can also compare this to animals. So animals, when they are in danger, will often run away from the dangerous thing. So think about a zebra will run away from a lion when it's chasing us. And then if it's like a smaller animal, and let's say that, I'm just going to use this example. I don't know if it's an exact example of what happens out in my life, but no, here's a great example. This just happened to me this summer. So my neighbor and I were going for a walk, and we were walking past the pond in front of my house. We have lots of ducks and geese, and wild and domestic. And it was late spring, so they were laying eggs and they had nests and whatnot. And we walked past this duck, and she looks dead. And I was like, oh, she died on her nest. That's sad. And I mean, like, we even like tossed a couple rocks in her way to see if she would move a little bit. Nothing. And she looked dead. And so I told my husband that night, I'm like, there's a dead hen on the nest out there. And we go, and she's gone. Apparently, she was not dead. She was faking being dead, aka she was in a freeze response to protect herself and also to protect her babies, her eggs. And so we also use that stress response ourselves as humans. And this is just a response that's automatic. It's something we don't have to think about. Our bodies naturally will take over and put us into fight or flight. So we're activated, we're moving, and that's us pumping out a bunch of cortisol to get us to move or to fight. And then we also have a protective state where we will freeze and we won't do anything. So for animals, it looks like that duck sitting on top of her nest playing dead. But for us, what that looks like is I'm so overwhelmed, I can't do anything. I know I should meal prep. I just can't get myself to do it. I know that I should get up and go work out, but I just can't get the motivation to do it. I can't even put my tennis shoes on to go do that thing. Looking at a list that you created, and it's 20 things on that list for you to check off, and you end up doing something completely off that list just to avoid a list, right? So that would be more of a freeze response. I just can't do anything. Also, scrolling on your phone when you know like you should be doing XYZ, but you just can't seem to get off your phone because like that is just a way for you to check out, not to feel your body, not to feel your feelings, not to think about your thoughts. You're just numbing. Right. And so that's that freeze response. And so cortisol is not bad in either one of those states. It's there to protect you. And so remember that when I'm talking about cortisol, we're never talking about it as a bad hormone. You're not bad because you're overproducing or underproducing. This is just simply your body speaking to you and starting to understand what it is asking for. So let's talk about what cortisol will feel like when it's high. When cortisol is high, you generally will feel wired. It will feel like your body is just taking off. It will feel like if more like you're just very like jittery. Maybe you can't stop like moving your leg. Maybe you just feel like kind of out of sorts in your body. And it doesn't necessarily mean that your mind is on track with your body either. Like your mind can be very foggy and unclear, but your body just feels like very itchy and out of sorts. Your sleep will be very restless. So you might fall asleep because you're usually end up to be very exhausted by that time of day, but then you wake up usually somewhere between 12 and 4 a.m. and it's hard for you to fall back asleep. And it's like as soon as your eyes wake up, immediately it goes to your checklist. Immediately it goes to what did I forget to do the day before? Or what am I going to have to do the next day? And then you're counting down, oh my gosh, I'm only going to get this many hours of sleep. And you're just ruminating right away. You just can't calm that brain down. You might feel very anxious or irritable. It doesn't take much and you lose your shit pretty easily. It's like you're going about your day and everything seems fine, but then just one thing happens and you just kind of lose it. And you don't know why. And like you come out of it and you're like, why did I do that? Like I thought I felt fine today, but then all of a sudden I just lost my shit on my kids. And then you feel guilty and remorseful. And so it's just that quick reaction. You can also have a lot of cravings, specifically for either sugar and or salt. With high cortisol, many times you'll have more of salt cravings. And with low cortisol, you'll often have more sugar cravings. And then you can also end up to have more of a midsection fat gain or weight gain. And that's because you have more cortisol receptors in your midsection, and your fat will want to be stored there because it's easily accessible from your liver. And so when your body is looking for sugar, AKA an energy source, because of feeling stress in your body wants it to be quickly accessible, and it is quickly accessible within your liver. So it stores it right around that midsection so it can go find it very easily. Now, low cortisol will be kind of on the opposite side of that. And that's when you have just relentless fatigue. Like you're just so tired, like bone tired. I personally have gone through low cortisol and it was miserable. I would get to 4 p.m. and it was like putting a weighted vest on and having bricks on my feet, and trying to even make dinner in the evenings felt like I had all this extra weight on my body and I was walking uphill. And that was just to make dinner. And it was miserable. I was like, what is wrong with me? I just cannot do anything. And I feel so tired all of the time. I could sleep. I could have slept any time during the day. Didn't matter how much I slept the night before. I could have slept again the next day all over again. Low motivation and just feeling like I just can't do anything, right? Because your body feels so tired. You'll also feel apathy. So you're just like blah about anything. You're just not overly excited. It's hard to get interested in anything. The stuff that you actually loved to do feels so hard. You don't want to do it anymore. Brain fog. It's hard to find your next sentence. I remember being so foggy. I would like be talking and then all of a sudden I'd be like, I don't know where I was going with this. Or I lost my train of thought, and that would happen all the time. Finding normal words in my vocabulary, all of a sudden they would just be gone. And also like the classic walking into rooms and not knowing why, having trouble remembering things and just feeling out of sorts all of the time. Also low appetite, especially in the mornings. That's a very classic sign of having lower cortisol. And then later on in the day, you end up having a high appetite, specifically for sugar, because your body is desperate for energy at that time. So your cravings really increase, especially later on in the day. And then you just feel like I just can't anymore. Like I'm just so tired. But also when you sit down to rest, you feel guilty that you're resting because you maybe haven't really even had enough energy to do the things that you wanted to do during the day. And then sitting down to rest, you're like, I shouldn't be resting because I haven't done anything. And so then you tell yourself that rest is bad, even though you're not actually getting anything done anyway because you're so tired. Now we have dysregulation, which is a combination of both of those. And that's where many women will be in between. And it feels very confusing because oftentimes your body will feel very wired, but your mind is very tired, and yet your body is very tired. So it's like this itchy, out of sorts type of feeling in your skin, yet you don't have the actual energy, the motivation, the desire to do anything that you want to be doing. Your sleep is off, right? So you might be able to fall asleep, but staying asleep is really hard. But you can also have trouble falling asleep too. You can have trouble in both of those. Regardless, you're going to have issues getting up in the morning. So when your alarm goes off, that's always going to feel like a difficult task, mostly because you haven't been sleeping well at night. And this can also be somebody who their eyes are closed. They're technically sleeping all night, but you wake up tired. And this could be because you're not actually getting into a deep sleep. Because if your cortisol is dysregulated, it can be a little bit higher at night, where it's not allowing you to get into a deep restorative sleep. And you're easily awakened, or you're restless, so you're tossing and turning throughout the night, and you're just not getting that really good restorative sleep. You'd also just feel off and you don't know why. It is hard to put your finger on dysregulation, because there are moments when you feel good and you feel energized, and then, a couple hours later, you've hit a wall and you can hardly function. And so that's a classic sign of dysregulation as well. So why does this happen, and what's going on in our day-to-day that's causing this dysregulation, or the high cortisol or the low cortisol? I also want to explain that low cortisol is often the last point in this cortisol journey. Usually what happens first is that cortisol goes high, because that's a very normal response to stress. And then once that's been happening for a while, you're pumping out a bunch of cortisol. Cortisol is high. Then you will move into dysregulation, where cortisol is high, then it's low, then it's high, then it's low, especially at the wrong times of day. And then you move into low cortisol. So it's really an adrenal fatigue journey, where it goes to high, it goes to dysregulation, and then it goes to low cortisol. And the low cortisol will tend to get your attention because you've noticed that you have changed as a person. Because high cortisol can sometimes actually feel kind of good, because you can be pretty productive on cortisol, because you've got all of this energy to be using. And then once you get to low cortisol, you don't feel like yourself at all anymore. And so that's usually where you'll start to get attention and like, I've got to do something, I've got to change something. So why does this happen? So I want to talk specifically, or put more focus today, because you all know that your day-to-day stress is a problem, right? So like the managing of the kids' schedules, trying to work outside of the home and doing 40 hours a week, spending a lot of time in the car, choosing quick foods because you don't have time to prepare your healthy foods, just feeling stressed day to day. You already know that that's a problem. I also want to talk about the fact that dieting and diet culture, and the fact that we never feel like we're doing enough, is what is driving this to be a very chronic problem. We have been trained most of our lives to override our body in order to be healthy. That means be hungry in order to lose weight. That means always weigh yourself, and unless it's going down, you're doing a bad job. That means always get your workouts in and never skip anything, and make sure you feel dead to the world after you finish a workout and not great or energized. It's the constant pushing your body away from you, or trying to get away from your body as soon as possible, that is really keeping this pushing of cortisol, pushing on your body, pushing on your adrenal glands, which is getting it to be so chronic that you end up in a low cortisol state. Dieting has taught you to ignore your hunger, to chase discipline, and really to hustle in order to prove your worthiness, or that you can finally love your body, or that you can finally feel at home in your body. It's like this destination that you've put in front of yourself, saying like, until I get to this destination, I can't be happy in my body. But the fact is that destination, you never actually allow yourself to arrive there anyway. So you stay in the hustle, you stay in the proving, you stay in the ignoring of hunger cues, you stay in the pushing against your body and refusing to actually rest and heal your body. You've equated weight loss with the feeling of better. And that chase is what is keeping your body stuck. That chase is what's not allowing your body to ever feel safe, because you're always telling it that it's not doing enough, that it isn't enough. And you're doing this overworking and this pushing against your body, ultimately because you don't trust yourself, because the dieting industry has always told you that your eating habits are wrong and that you should do this different and do that different and take out this food group and eat less and look this way and do that and whatnot. And it's all wrong. It has gotten you to why you feel this way in your body. It's gotten you to a point where you don't feel like your body is yours. And you also don't feel safe ever feeling like your body is yours because it's such a disconnected place. And you're afraid to rest because if you rest, you'll gain weight. And you don't believe that you can feel better without weight loss or without working against your body. This is the true reason why we've gotten our bodies into the state that it is. And then we tell ourselves that it's just our hormones. Like, my hormones are just imbalanced, and we blame them as a problem. And then we say our weight is the problem. And then we blame ourselves for not being enough. What this really is this chronic depletion. It's the fact that we haven't been eating enough high quality foods for years. It's not just the last couple of months that's been hard. It's not just the summertime and the fact that we're busier. This has been going on for years. I'm 41 years old. I remember wanting to lose weight when I was 9. Right? So it's been decades of my life of saying your body should look a certain way. And even though I've come light years from that, I still see it in my patterns and my thinking and my thoughts. And I know that you do too, because it's it used to be so normal that if you weren't dieting, something was wrong. If you weren't trying to have a smaller body, like, who are you? Right? And now moving into a space where I'm encouraging you to simply learn to love your body without the expectation of weight loss is really where that true healing begins. And here's the thing, even if you want to lose weight, even if that is there, and even if that would benefit your health, you don't actually have to do the classic weight loss things in order for that to happen. You can take care of your body. You can take care of yourself by listening, giving your body what it needs, doing less of what isn't serving you anymore, which will naturally allow your hormones to balance, which means cortisol will begin to be regulated and your body will begin to feel safe. And then also you will begin to feel safe in your body. And when those two things happen, everything else gets to be a beautiful side effect, which means you start to create energy naturally. You don't need a coffee. You don't need an energy drink. You just wake up and you have energy and you can do the things you want to do. You fall asleep easily at night and you stay asleep. You choose foods throughout the day that fuel your body well, and you're not chasing the next sugar high or the next salty thing you can find. You're not trying to push away things and feelings in your body. You're allowing them to happen. And then your body begins to find its natural state of being. It begins to be safe in homeostasis. So that means that it begins to burn body fat that it feels is in excess. And it begins to feel and find that natural state. That natural state is where you want to be, and it's where your body wants to be. But we have to get out of dysregulation. We have to get out of pushing. We have to get out of the constant state that our body is wrong and begin to love and accept this beautiful body that we're in. Because the truth is that this is the safest place you can be. This body of yours is the most beautiful gift you have ever been given. And you're not allowing yourself to feel or ever tell yourself or your body any of these things. So what are 3 things that you can do today that will help your body begin to feel safe? Because the other part of this is that I don't expect you, after listening to this podcast episode, to wake up tomorrow morning and be like, oh, I just feel safe in my body. This is a cumulative effect. This is something that happens time and time and time and time again, and beginning to think differently and beginning to feel differently in your body. And I'm also going to teach you this in the 21-day Hormone Balance Blueprint, which I'm going to tell you how to enroll for that in just a minute here. But if we can focus on consistent meals, this is not a drastic thing to be changing in your day-to-day. This is a normal human behavior to eat. But many of you are skipping meals, grabbing and going, and then way overshooting what your body needs later on in the day or on the weekends because you've been starving your body all week. Your body does not like highs and lows. Your body likes consistency. And so if you can eat 3 solid meals a day with your protein, with your fat, with fiber, and with carbohydrates, your blood sugar is going to be balanced throughout the day. Now, specifically, speaking of breakfast, your body wants to eat in the morning, even if your appetite isn't there. I know it's hard to do, but it's the thing that your body really needs. Think about this as the loving push that your body doesn't know that it needs right now because it's not giving you appetite cues, but you know that your body needs this right now. When you nourish your body in the morning, that is going to set you up for blood sugar stability for the rest of the day. You're going to have energy. You're going to be more alert. Your hunger cues are going to be accurate. So that means, yeah, you are going to feel hungry then for lunch, and you're going to be willing to eat a nutritious meal versus grabbing anything because now you're hangry at lunch. And then when you're hangry at lunch, you end up over consuming or eating the wrong kinds of foods or eating something that's not stable for your blood sugar. And then you end up with a blood sugar crash later on in the day. And then when you get to the evening hours, then you're just grabbing anything to not feel hungry anymore. And you're eating while you're cooking dinner and just putting stuff in your mouth. And then pretty soon you feel yucky, you feel bloated, and you're like, why did I eat that? That was unnecessary. I'll start again tomorrow. And it's this constant loop that you keep staying in. Also, stop telling yourself that you're going to start again tomorrow. When you do that, you're basically telling yourself that you were bad today. Your behavior was bad. What you did was bad. That was not okay. And that correlates you with not trusting yourself. Stop telling yourself you'll start again tomorrow. It's not helping you. So, consistent meals, 3 meals a day, protein, fat, fiber, carbohydrates. Get it all in there. Next, learn your nervous system. Learn what does it feel to be in a freeze response? What does it feel to be in a flight response? What does it feel to be in a fight response? What are the things that you do when you're in those states? Start to pay attention to your actions. When you start to pay attention to your actions, when you're in a heightened state or a conserved state, then you can start to know your own unique nervous system and how it shows up for you in the day. And then from there, you can learn how to regulate yourself. Now, here's the thing, is that what I just told you with the nutrition, that's already your first step to regulating your nervous system. Okay. But the second part is learning what are those actions that you're doing and being able to pay attention to them and then reverse engineering. How do I know that my nervous system is heightened? How do I know that I'm in a freeze response? What can I do slowly to move myself out of those states and into a regulated state? This is something I'm going to teach you in the 21-day Hormone Balance Blueprint, where I'm going to teach you what does a heightened nervous state actually look like? Because maybe you can't actually identify what that is for you. And how do you move yourself in and out of those states? That's the goal. It's not to never feel heightened. It's not to never feel overwhelmed or frozen. It's to understand when you do and move yourself out. You will move in and out of these states, and that's okay. That's normal. That's good. That tells us you have a nervous system that's working. But we also want to be able to have that control to be able to go back into regulation. And what this does is this prevents your body from continuing to push out cortisol or conserve cortisol in an effort to keep you safe. You begin to trust your body, and your body begins to trust you, and now you're not producing hormones in a state that doesn't make sense. You're not unnecessarily using cortisol or conserving cortisol. You're just using cortisol in a way that it's meant to be used. And then lastly, restorative movement. This includes rest. So many of my clients and so many of you don't know how to rest. You sit down to rest and you aren't actually resting. You're thinking about what your to-do list is not doing. You're thinking about how uncomfortable it is to sit there. So then you pick up your phone and you scroll. You're thinking about the laundry and the dryer, right? You don't ever actually rest, which shows your body that it's not safe to rest. When your body doesn't believe it's safe to rest, what does it do? It pushes out more cortisol to get you to move out of danger. And you're not in danger. You're sitting on your couch on a Sunday afternoon. Learn how to rest. Learn how to be okay resting. Learn how to let rest feel really good. And I'm going to teach you all of this in the 21-day Hormone Balance Blueprint, which this is the perfect time of year to sign up for this, because guess what? We're in the thick and the muck of summer, and I know that you are on the edge of burnout and depletion, and you're probably want to pull your hair out. And that's okay. We're going to do very easy, implementable things in this 3 weeks. So that's why I like little quick programs to give you some information, get you focused on the things that actually matter without going full on into something that you're not ready for. So this is going to be the perfect time and place to do this. It's only $37 to enroll, super cheap. You're going to get a hormone balance menu every week that we're focusing on blood sugar stability. These are still going to be family friendly, but we want to make sure we're eating whole foods so our body feels safe, knows what to do with those nutrients, and can help replenish the stores that we've probably been depleting in the last couple of months. You're going to learn about your nervous system. I'm also going to teach you how to begin some regulation exercises. Easy, implementable, doable at home. It takes less than 5 minutes, but you're going to get nice and close to that nervous system instead of trying to run away or push away. And then I'm going to teach you how to actually rest, how to bring rest into your week, into your day, and how to let it feel good and stop running away from it, because your body needs rest. Rest is not bad. Rest is beautiful. We all need more rest so that our body stops producing or conserving cortisol in an effort to keep us safe, because we refuse to listen to it. So the Hormone Balance Blueprint actually starts tomorrow, July 23. You can still enroll today. You can enroll tomorrow. I will likely keep it open until Friday, the 25th. And then you'll always get the replay from the call that we do live on Wednesday. So you'll be able to catch up right away. And if you're listening to this later on, make sure to head to my website, mindfullywell.com, to see what other beautiful things I have coming up or active right now. All right, my friends, I hope to see you all very soon, and I hope to see you in the blueprint. You all have a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.